In today's video, we're going to be discussing what happens when you do not pay your fees on eBay. And trust me guys, it is not pretty. What is up everybody, and welcome to the Financial Wolf channel. So as I already mentioned, in today's video, I'm going to be going over with you guys what happens when you do not pay your eBay fees. And this is something I've actually had some personal experience with. And it's because of a scam that happened to me, just a couple months ago. And after that scam happened, I decided to take a break from selling on eBay. And I decided just not to pay my fees because, in my opinion, I thought, hey, since eBay is not protecting me as a seller, I don't think they deserve to be paid. And I'm going to be showing you guys what happened and why I eventually decided to pay the fees. For some more context, in late November of 2018, I ended up selling an iPhone XS Max to a person working with a freight forwarding company. And ultimately, I lost all of the money that I had made for the phone, including the phone. So it was a big loss for me at the time, $850, and I was very frustrated with eBay. And on December 15th, I ended up getting an invoice for about $400 to cover my 10% of sales eBay seller fee. And I was very frustrated with eBay, and I thought, hey, since they're not protecting me as a seller and doing their job, they do not deserve to get their fees for me selling on their platform. I was extremely angry with them, so I decided just not to pay the fees and see what happens, and my experiment began. And everything was going pretty well for the first month and a half, and it wasn't until a couple weeks ago when the nightmare really started. But for the first month and a half, all that was happening is I was getting emails from eBay collections. I was getting these messages saying, hey, if you don't pay your eBay fees, we're gonna suspend your account from mid-January 2018 to early February of 2019, which is a really long time period, about 6 weeks. They pretty much did nothing but send me emails in both my eBay sellers inbox and to my email that's linked to my eBay account. So I really didn't care at that point. I just marked all of the eBay messages to spam, and my inbox wasn't bothered at all. And guys, also note that during this first 6 to 8 week time period, I was still able to sell on eBay as a seller. Nothing happened at all to my account. It wasn't restricted. All that was happening is I was getting messages. No restrictions, no suspension happened, and I was selling my lower ticket devices on eBay still. And I really didn't care if my account got suspended because then I would just switch to selling those devices locally. But for now, while my account was still not suspended, I sold them on eBay, even though I didn't pay the fees. And what really sucked is when I actually paid the fees back, I had to pay the fees from those months as well from the devices that I sold on eBay, which does make sense, right? But I had to pay fees on that along with the $300 that was initially due. After the first 6 to 8 weeks of not paying my eBay fees and them sending me messages on my email and my seller's inbox, what they ended up doing is finally suspending my account. And all I thought is, hey, that means I'm just going to switch up to only selling locally and only selling to private buyers. I really didn't care at all because at that point I was selling very little things on eBay and it wouldn't really affect my business at all. I'd still be able to sell my items and get about the same amount of money and avoid the fees. So what happened is I really didn't care, and I thought that was kind of the end of it. I was like, oh, well, I guess it's only $300 and they don't care about that, and I could just not sell on eBay ever again, and my account will always be suspended, and I won't really have to worry about anything. But I was completely wrong, and this is where the story gets interesting. About 1 week ago is when I got my first call from a debt collector's agency, and this is where things got scary. I picked up the number even though it was a random number because I get random number calls all the time from people who want to sell me phones from Craigslist that I eventually resell. But so I was picking up the call thinking it was someone who wants to sell me a phone, and I go, hello, this is Will, and to my surprise, the person that actually responds is, hello, this is Sherry calling from the International Debt Collectors Association. Is your name like William? And I'm like, yes, I confirm my name, all of my information. And then they go, you have outstanding eBay fees of $431.90. Would you like to make the payment now? Or like something like that, right? And this is where I got scared. And I was like, I don't even have an eBay account. I just said something random so that I could hang up and block the number. And I kept getting calls from like different numbers every couple of days, and I got really scared at that point. And me being stupid, I decided to kept ignoring the calls. After about a week of getting calls every couple of days, I think I got 3 calls in the first week, I got my first letter from a debt collector, and this is where my journey of trying not to pay my eBay fees stopped, because once they started sending letters to my house, I realized this is going way too far. I just need to pay the fees and just man up, pay the $400 and move on. So I got the letter from eBay, and I just decided, hey, I'm done with this. I'm just going to log on right now and pay the fees. And I ended up paying my fees this morning, and everything is settled. I even called eBay, and I got my account back up and ready in case I want to sell some of my lower ticket devices on eBay. So when I got the letter to my house, like, I knew it wasn't worth it in the long term, because I don't want my parents, like, keep seeing this stuff, because they're going to get really mad at me if I, like, go into debt at 16 years old just by refusing to pay my eBay fees. They'd be really upset with me. So I decided just to avoid it going any further and stop it. In my opinion, I think I got off pretty lucky. I ended up only having to pay back what I initially owed. I didn't have to pay any debt collector's fees. I didn't have to pay any interest. So I think I got pretty lucky. After doing some research, I figured out that some people had to pay some substantial debt collector fees and some substantial interest on whatever they initially owed. But I think they might have delayed paying the fees a little bit longer than I did. So things could have been a lot worse. And all in all, this is probably the stupidest decision financially that I've ever made. So guys, if you're in the situation that you owe eBay fees and you don't want to pay them, guys, it's really worth it just to pay them. You don't want to go through the hassle of having to pay interest on your debt. You don't want to have people send letters to your house. You don't want to have your phone constantly ringing. So just trust me, don't not pay your eBay fees. It is not worth it. And if you guys can't afford your eBay fees, let's say you're in a situation that you have to pay $1,000 in eBay fees and you really can't afford it at the current moment, you can always try to negotiate with debt collectors because they buy debt for very cheap. So you can try to negotiate for about 50% of its value, and you might actually close a deal with that person and save some money. I didn't want to worry about that at all, just because I felt kind of weird being in that situation at 16 years old, and I had the money to pay the $400, so I decided just to pay the $400 and forget about it forever. Okay guys, with that all being said, I think that's gonna about wrap up today's video. If you appreciate my transparency, please be sure to drop a like on today's video. It was very embarrassing for me to share this, because thinking back on it, it sounds just so stupid. I can't believe I decided to not pay my fees and think nothing was gonna happen. It was a dumb decision on my part, but I'm only 16 years old, and hopefully I can learn from it now and not have too many dumb decisions going ahead of myself in my business journey. So guys, if you're watching right now, thank you so much for watching to the end of today's video. If you guys made it to the end, please be sure to comment down below the code word WOLF so I know you made it to the end, and I'll be sure to comment back to you and thank you for making it to the end of today's video. And guys, also, if you have not subscribed to the Financial Wolf channel, please be sure you do to be in the first 1,000 subscribers.